I'm Robert Sauder. I'm a public servant in residence here at NIPSIA. I'm still actually employed by Global Affairs Canada. I'm on loan, or as I say, seconded to the university. My role here is to try to build a bridge between the world of research and the world of policy development at the former CEDA, as it was called when I joined, then DFAT-D, now Global Affairs Canada. I was the Director of Policy Research in the development stream. So in a nutshell, my role was to try to build bridges and ensure that research and evidence out there in the universe was brought into the department and was applied to our policy development, to our programs. So to some extent, it was like a dress rehearsal for the work that I'd been doing here. So there's a constant process of distillation and kind of producing a little narrative about, okay, here's the issue, here's the sort of context for this issue, here's what's been going on, and here's what this report says. And then maybe at the end, and here's what we might want to do about it. You know, if this tells us this, then we might want to think about changing our policies or adjusting our programming. So to address your original question, really what happens is complicated, theory-based, highly esoteric academic research is a lot of work to filter and distill down. And it often doesn't change anything real for the government. The government's in a policy function, it wants to know, what should I do? There's always a series of choices. I could do 10 things. Which of those 10 things should I act on, or 3 of those 10? And what should I do in each of those areas? So complicated, especially sort of ideologically based political science and sociology type of stuff that are, I'm not saying it's not important or not interesting, doesn't tend very much towards telling you what to do. Things that are numerical or measurable tend to be easier to express in a simple narrative, right? The poverty rate for such and such a place is this. After we started doing that, the poverty rate changed to that. So as much as I'm a qualitative researcher in my own background, I have to admit these kinds of nice little sound bites or nuggets of research tend to get more attention because they're easier to understand. I have to applaud NIPSIA for inviting me here, and we've spent a fair amount of time this year trying to build some of those bridges. I've been doing it in my teaching, and I've tried to, and I think you were present for a couple of my special talks that I gave on policy development, and so trying to inculcate the idea that it's a narrative, it's a story, that it's very brief and high level, and if you can't tell a story about it, then you probably are missing the mark. So what is I always use the example, if you happen to step into the elevator at work and there's the Minister for International Development and they say, oh, hi Lance, hi Katarina, how are you doing? I'm doing well. I heard that you're a real expert on digital communications and education. We've got some money that I wanted to devote to that. What should I do? And if you can't come up with the 3 bullets right there, well, whatever, Minister, thank you for asking. What you really need to do is this. You want to make sure that you don't do that because that's going to be wasteful and it's going to be duplication. And the last thing is, if you don't spend at least this much money on it, it's not going to be effective. And if you're successful, the Minister will say, this is great. Book a meeting with Katarina. I want to talk to her more about this later. That little narrative, that's a fiction, obviously. That little narrative, if you haven't got it at your fingertips, there's something missing from your work.